that he had put her head on a shelf and screamed at it for an hour, threw darts at it, and ultimately smashed her face in. He also cut her tongue out and her larynx and put them in a garbage disposal.
Tell me in a sentence who you are.
I'm nobody. I'm a bum. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight razor if you get too close to me.
Do you ever feel violent?
Yes, I do.
What do you feel like doing?
Killing people.
You still feel like killing people?
Yes.
Describe the feeling that you get when you feel like killing people.
Well, last March 11th, I was hallucinating, and I took a razor blade and I cut a man's throat.
Here in the hospital?
Here in the hospital.
Do you think you'd murder me, Joe?
Yes.
That's gruesome, Joe. That's horrible.
Yes, it is.
You don't blame me if I say I hope you never get out of this place.
I hope I never do either.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening. Welcome to another fantastic Saturday evening here on the Murder Podcast Show. I am your host, Tim, also known as The Architect. That's right. And as you can tell, it is just me this evening, which is fine, perfectly fine. Criminology Chris is under the weather today. So, I am going to do this show myself tonight, and that is okay. We got a pretty good case for you tonight. Well, I should say I got a pretty good case for you tonight. But first, I'll hit our sponsor here, Crafty Corner by Laura. Laura makes a wide selection of handmade crochet plushies, both cute and creepy, animals, pop culture, fantasy, anime, and horror. They also specialize in custom orders like our voodoo doll that has been out front of my screen there. You can follow them on Instagram at the.crafty.corner.bylaura. That's right, there's 3 dots in there. You got to figure out on your own where they go. I'm not here to help you with that. We don't have a 1 minute of murder tonight. Cake Maker, howdy, welcome in. Unsafe with the hands there, welcome in, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. The numbers are still growing. I can tell you the subscribers here on YouTube now are 187. So we're almost at 200, which is the next milestone goal that we are working on. As far as the other numbers, I am not sure. I know TikTok is still growing every day. I know that for a fact. And, but yeah. So other than that, tonight's case is actually not too far from myself here. It takes place in Ashland, Ohio. David, welcome in. And it is, Mr. Shawn Grate. That's right. This is a wild case here. This case is there's a lot going on here. Like I said, it takes place. It's probably only about 45, 50 minutes somewhere in there from myself here. And I didn't even realize about this when this happened. Which we will go ahead and we'll jump in. But first, if you don't already like and subscribe to the channel here, please do so. All you got to do is hit the, subscribe button down there, hit the little bell, and what that bell will do is it will notify you every time we are going to go live. So we do appreciate that. And we appreciate everybody listening in, per usual, on all the streaming apps and here when we go live every Saturday. So anyways, enough of the chit-chatter. Let me go ahead and jump in here to Mr. Shawn Grate, also known as the Ashland Nightmare. So when we look back at the history of serial killers, we often look for the monster in margins, okay? We look for the outcast, the lone whisper to himself on the street, corner. We look for the man with the vacant, terrifying stare. But evil, okay, rarely announces itself with a snarl. More often than not, it smiles. It offers to help you carry your groceries. It speaks in a soft, gentle drawl that makes you feel, if only for a fleeting second, entirely safe. Shawn Grate was that kind of man, okay? To the casual observer in north central Ohio, he was charming. He was a bit down on his luck, man. He had a smooth jawline, bright eyes, and a charismatic, hey, there's no horn, so I can screw these words up, demeanor that drew people in, especially women. But beneath his manscured veneer was a chaotic, deeply sadistic predator, a man who transformed ordinary, nondescript houses in quiet neighborhoods into literal slaughterhouses. So today we are stripping away the charm. We are dissecting the life, the psychological decay, and the horrific crimes of Shawn Grate. This is not just a story of murder. It is the clinical look into how a predator exploits the cracks in society and how one woman's sheer will to survive finally brought an empire of horrors crashing down. So to understand the unraveling of Shawn Grate, we have to travel back into the late 1970s in Marion, Ohio. Born August 8th, 1976, Shawn wasn't born into a vacuum of violence, but his childhood was far from stable. Family members and childhood acquaintance describe a home environment fractured by divorce, shifting custody, and emotional issues. Those who went to River Valley High School with Grate, early 1990s, remember him as a bit of a chameleon. We've covered serial killers in the past that we've actually described them as that kind of person, On one hand, he was remarkably handsome, voted most attractive in his 1995 yearbook. He was an athlete, a track runner, someone who could blend into almost any social circle. But if you look closer, the fractures were already showing. Classmates recalled an underlying undercurrent of manipulation. Shawn wasn't just charismatic, whatever. There's no horn. He was calculating. He learned that his looks could weaponize empathy. If he got into trouble, a flashing smile or a well-timed tear could entirely dissolve consequences. So this guy realized that he would try to take advantage. He's like, oh, okay, I look good. I got this smile. If I get into any kind of shit, then I'll just kind of use that to my advantage, and that's fine. So by the time Grate entered into his 20s, the high school golden boy began to rapidly decay. The charm had still remained there, but it was now laced with a suffocating need for control. Psychologists who later evaluated Grate noted a severe antisocial personality structure, heavily leaning into a narcissism. He didn't view women as human beings with agency. He viewed them as possessions, objects to be acquired, used, and discarded when they no longer served his fragile mind there. So between 1997 and 2015, Grate's rap sheet grew from a series of minor infractions into a terrifying roadmap of violence. So, couple of key points here. In 1997, he had an arrest for identity theft. So that's kind of a, small red flag there. 1999, a conviction for domestic violence. So it's another, red flag. It's only a few years, apart there. And in 2013, so a little bit of a gap there, a pattern of stalking, breaking into homes, domestic abuse charges across multiple Ohio counties into Richland, Marion, and then Ashland. So let's talk about the physical reality of these warning signs. Former girlfriends would later come forward with chilling similar stories. They described a man who could switch from poetry writing romantic to a suffocating tyrant in the span of a heartbeat. It's another red flag. One former partner recounted how Grate would pin her to the floor, placing his hands around her throat just tight enough to restrict her breathing, staring into her eyes to watch the panic set in before releasing her and smiling as if nothing had happened. It was a rehearsal, a literal training ground for the lethality, that was to come. Yeah, I'd say there's some things going on there. He was drifting from couch to couch, shelter to shelter, woman to woman. He didn't hold down a steady job, often relying on the financial generosity of the women he infatuated. He lived in the shadows of society, perfectly positioned to target those who were equally isolated. So the first known victim, Dana, and this was in 2006. 4 years, the true depth of Shawn Grate's remained hidden, what he was doing. But in 2016, following an arrest, Grate would confess to a murder that had baffled investigators for a decade, a murder that marked his official transition into a serial killer. The year was 2006. The victim was 23-year-old Dana, a mother of 2 young daughters from Louisiana. Dana was in Ohio trying to make a living selling magazines door to door. Which, God, I remember those years of, I can remember being a kid at home and people trying to sell, magazines coming to the door. God, it makes me feel old now. I don't think they do that stuff now, but everything's done online now. So, she was far from home and running out of money, the exact demographic Grate preyed upon. Grate met Dana, and under the guise of helping her, lured her into his, world, I'll just say. But a trivial dispute over a magazine subscription or money triggered the monster inside of him. According to Grate's own cold matter-of-fact confession, he took Dana to a secluded wooded area in Marion County. The details of her final moments are excruciating. Grate turned on her with a sudden, explosive violence. He beat her, overpowering her physically before wrapping his hands around her throat and strangling her until her body went entirely limp. But he wasn't done. To ensure she was dead, and to vent his inexplicable rage, Grate took a knife and stabbed her repeatedly in the neck and chest. He left her body in a field off Victory Road, Marion County, letting elements, animals, and time to do his work for him. When her remains were found in May of 2006, they were so severely decomposed and scavenged, Yes, that she could not be identified for 10 years. She was known only as the Marion County Jane Doe. Think about that for a decade. I mean, that's crazy. Grate walked the streets knowing he had stolen a mother from her children, knowing her bones were sitting in a coroner's office marked with a question mark. It didn't burden his, conscience. It just emboldened him. I mean, that's crazy. And the fact that, he pretty much knew what he was doing by leaving it out there, leaving her, out there, because elements, animals, all that stuff getting to her, it's going to end up tearing her apart. And it was probably in a part where nobody ever really saw to know, but it's just crazy. 10 years. Yeah, unsafe. Wow, that's exactly it too. It's like, holy cow. So we fast forward to 2016. Grate is now living Ashland, Ohio. He has taken up residence in a secluded, abandoned Victorian-style house at 363 Covert Court. The house is a physical manifestation of Grate's mind, rotting from the inside out, cluttered with garbage, smelling of decay, and hidden in plain sight right behind a local laundromat. I've got some pictures I'll show here in a while from the crime scene of the inside of the house, and it is just a disaster. It looks like a friggin' bomb went off in this damn house. It was here that Grate's killing spree accelerated into a frantic frenzy. In the summer of 2016, 29-year-old Elizabeth Griffith went missing. Elizabeth was a sweet, intellectually disabled woman who walked everywhere in town. She was easily confused and deeply trusting. Grate spotted her, engaged her in conversation, and lured her back to the house on Covert Court. Once inside, the trap snapped shut. Grate tied her up. For days, he subjected Elizabeth to unspeakable acts of sexual degradation and physical torture. When he grew tired of her cries, he wrapped his hands around her neck. He squeezed the life out of her, holding his grip long after her heart stopped beating. He then wrapped her body in blankets, dragged her into a filthy upstairs closet, and closed the door. He simply lived alongside her decaying corpse. That is messed up. Weeks later, in September 2016, 43-year-old Stacy Stanley, known to her friends and family as Hicks, ran out of a gas station at a local BP station late at night. She was a beloved mother, a hard worker who had fallen on hard times. Grate, of course, lurking in that area of town, offered to help her change her flat tire or get gas. He used his well-worn charm to convince her to walk back to the house with him. Stacy would never leave that house alive. Inside, Grate bound her with zip ties and cords. For days, he brutally assaulted her. Stacy fought back with everything she had. In his later confessions, Grate complained about how fiercely she fought. Noting that she bit his finger during the struggle. The resistance only infuriated him further. He strangled Stacy to death, leaving her body in the basement, buried under a mountain of old clothes and trash. The stench in the house was becoming unbearable. The summer heat was baking the remains of Elizabeth upstairs and Stacy in the basement. Yet Shawn Grate remained there, sleeping in his bed, cooking meals, entirely unbothered by the rot surrounding him. And then he chose his next victim. But this time he underestimated his prey. Yes, David, it sounds like he went from normal to murder in literally, like, snap, seconds. It was September 11th, 2016. Shawn Grate had crossed paths with a woman we will refer to by her legal name, Chloe, or AV. She was a friend of his, someone he had known for a short time. He invited her to his house. Once inside, the atmosphere instantly shifted. Grate pinned her down, tied her to his bed using heavy ropes, and gagged her. Over the next 48 hours, Chloe was subjected to a walking nightmare. Grate repeatedly raped her, physically assaulted her, and explicitly told her that she was never going to leave. He told her she was his now. But Chloe possessed a brilliant, survival-driven mind. She realized that showing panic or fighting aggressively might provoke him into killing her immediately. Just as he had done to Stacy, so she played along. She confronted him. She spoke softly to him, pretending to accept her fate, gradually lowering his guard. On the morning of September 13th, Grate finally fell into a deep sleep right next to her on the bed. Chloe's heart was hammering against her ribs. She managed to painfully twist her hands out of the ropes, her skin tearing in the process. She looked around the dimly lit room. On a nearby nightstand, just out of arm's reach, lay Shawn Grate's cell phone. With excruciating slowness, making sure not to rustle the mattress, she reached out. Her fingertips brushed the plastic case. She pulled it towards her. She couldn't speak out loud, because if Grate woke up, she would be dead within seconds. She dialed 911, pressed the phone to her ear, and began to whisper. What follows is one of the most chilling, tense, and remarkable 911 calls in the history of American law enforcement. Listen to the absolute desperation balanced with incredible tactical restraint in Chloe's voice. And I will play the 911. I have captions for it too as well. And it's a long one. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But I do want you guys to hear this. So listen in, and here is the 911 call that Chloe made that night with Shawn Grate sleeping right next to her.
What is the address to your emergency?
5 Street Laundromat.
What is it?
4th Street Laundromat.
What's the problem?
I've been abducted.
What's your name? How do you spell your last name? Who abducted you?
Shawn Green.
You said John Green?
Shawn Grate.
Where's she at now?
Asleep.
Where's she sleeping at?
In the bedroom.
In what bedroom?
There's 2 houses right by the laundry street. And it's in one of those houses.
But you're at the laundromat?
No, I'm in the bedroom with them.
What color's the house? Is it across? If I'm looking at the laundromat, which way is it?
If you're looking in the laundromat, it's one on the left of the 2.
You don't know what color the house is?
Yellow. Please hurry.
Does he have a car?
No. Well, he's down the street.
So what's your phone number you're calling me from?
I don't know.
And you think it's a yellow house?
I think so, but it's on the left.
Is it an apartment?
No, it's a house.
Okay, does he own the house?
No, he broke into it.
Does anybody actually live there?
I think they've been abandoned.
And his name is Shawn Grate?
Yes.
Like Grate?
Yes.
Does he have a weapon?
He's got a taser.
Where do you live? What does he look like? Is he a white male or a black male?
White.
Is he like 6 foot or is he shorter than that?
He's like 6'1", 6'2".
Do you know how much he weighs?
Probably 175.
Are you injured?
A little.
What color's his hair?
Brown.
Do you know what color his eyes are? What's he wearing?
Nothing right now.
Okay, stay on the phone with me. Stay on the line with me, okay? Is he still sleeping?
Yes.
Where did he take you from?
My apartment. I mean, I was walking with him.
You were walking with him? Or were you walking too?
His place. I've known him for like a month and a half.
So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but that is just wild. I mean, you don't hear of stuff like that, happening. He fell asleep during all of this going on and was able to get his phone, get herself out of the restraints that he had her in, and get herself out and get his phone. I mean, that is just crazy. You don't hear of that happening. She was very, very fortunate there. But to be able to quietly, imagine dispatch. I mean, they deal with all kinds of calls, but imagine them getting that call and the person on the other end of the phone is like, kidnapped me, he's hurting me, and he's sleeping right next to me right now. The dispatcher's probably like, holy crap, That's messed up. The dispatcher seemed to take a long... Yeah, so yeah, there's things... I'm not a dispatcher, but I used to be firefighter, EMS, and all that. I used to do all that stuff, and I've talked to dispatch a lot, and there's some things in there that just don't seem right. Taking a long time, and then the dispatcher kind of talking very loudly after she had already stated that he's sleeping right next to her, like, you think she would kind of try to whisper a little bit to get down to Chloe's, level, not to, startle him and talk so loud. But so for nearly 20 minutes, the dispatcher kept Chloe on the line, trying to pinpoint the exact location of the abandoned house. You can hear the rustling of blankets. You can hear Chloe's breath hitching every time Grate shifts his body in his sleep. She tells the dispatcher, as you heard in that call, that there's a taser in his pocket, and she whispers that he has been holding her captive for days. Let the reality of that, sink in. You're trapped in a bed next to a serial killer. The air is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, garbage, and though she didn't know it yet, the decomposing bodies of 2 women just rooms away. One wrong move, one dropped phone, and the line goes dead forever. Because you know that if Grate would have woke up during that, that would have been it. Like I said a little bit ago, she would have been dead within seconds. So officers approached the door, finding it locked. They forced entry, moving through the cluttered hallway, guns drawn. So imagine that, too. You're going into a home where he's, hoarding all kinds of garbage and trash, and then the smell too. The minute, cops, they pick up on that. The minute they probably entered that home, they probably realized there's people dead in this house, because you could smell dead bodies. They spotted the structure. So they burst into the bedroom. Shawn Grate was startled, awake, completely disoriented. Within seconds, officers threw him on the floor, pinning his arms behind his back and clicking the steel handcuffs into place. Chloe was instantly rescued, wrapped in a blanket, and rushed out of the house, trembling but alive. As Grate was led out to the police cruiser, in his t-shirt and shorts, he looked utterly calm. No yelling, no crying, just a cold blank stare. But as officers began to sweep the house to secure the crime scene, a horrific reality began to unfold. An officer opened a closet door upstairs. A wave of foul, unmistakable odor hit him. Inside, wrapped in a pile of blankets, was Elizabeth. Down in the basement, beneath layers of clothes and household trash, investigators uncovered the body of Stacy. Shawn Grate wasn't just a kidnapper. The police had accidentally stumbled upon the liar of an active serial killer. I have, I'll show you here. I have when they investigated him or brought him in, questioning and that kind of stuff. I have this video that I will show you guys, and he agrees to demonstrate. So one of the victims, Elizabeth, I guess she had a lot of depression, suicidal thoughts, all kinds of stuff. She was on all kinds of medications and for years and years, and she, according to him, kept talking about how she always wanted to kill herself. She didn't want to be alive anymore. So he talks about this to detectives, and he agrees to show them how he strangled her, and then they'll break down a couple of other points here as well too. So let me bring that up for you guys right now.
On video.
Okay, this is Detective Major. We have Detective Evans in the room, Shawn Grate in the room. It's September 15, 2016, time 17:04. Shawn's going to demonstrate the way he uses in strangulation in cases that we have been discussing.
Well, Elizabeth, right? It was kind of shocking, right? I was just joking. We were just joking, like how she wished she kind of would die, you know what I mean? I was like, so I'll help you. I'll just go like this, you know what I mean? Like,
pushing forward and up at the same time.
Right, and she kind of just like whacked my hands and like started flipping out and stuff like that, to the point where I had to just like grab her and I just would lean forward and just press, you know what I mean?
Okay. All right, that explains that with Elizabeth.
She'd fall down. And,
you just kind of go down with her?
I laid her down and finished. And even after she stopped breathing, I held on until she messed her pants pretty much.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I didn't release.
Okay.
I continued.
Shawn says that everything just happened so fast that he had only met her just a few days before. So in summary, his explanation for this murder essentially boils down to Elizabeth had supposedly talked about wanting to die. He wanted to test how much this was true. He started strangling her, but once she fought back, he tried to give her a hug and tell her she does want to live. But at that point, she told him to get off because he had just tried to hurt her. He says, quote, "She just kept going on, and it's like, Jesus, save me, and it's like you're not saved. My compassion wanted to just free her from this world." Shawn says at that point, it was like way too late, and so he finished strangling her.
I'm like, Elizabeth was more different because I played around with her. And she got scared and just jumped the gun. I thought we were better than that. I put her in the closet, threw a bunch of clothes in the closet and shut it. And I've just been killing a lot of flies. Opening the window, letting the flies out. It's crazy. These flies don't stink as much as what it does.
Yeah.
It soaks in. The smell soaking into everything else, though. Clothes.
So yeah, that is that's insane. I mean, yeah, David, good God, is right. That is seriously, I haven't heard of shit like this. I mean, just the fact when he demonstrated that, it just sends chills up your spine, you know? And the way that he's like, oh, well, I pretty much just held there until she messed her pants. And it's like, holy crap, dude. Like, this guy is insane. And then the fact that he's like, well, she kept talking about not wanting to be, you know, alive anymore. So I figured I would test that and see if she really meant it. And it's like, you got to have a sick, messed up, twisted mind to go to that kind of level. I mean, and then you saw the, you know, pictures there of the closet and stuff some blankets in front of the door. And it's, I mean, that is seriously creepy. So once in custody, Shawn Grate did something that stunned seasoned homicide detectives. He didn't clam up. He didn't even ask for a lawyer immediately. Instead, he talked. In a series of taped interviews, like what we just saw with Ashland County Prosecutor's Office and detectives, Grate spoke in a relaxed, almost therapeutic tone. And you heard him there in that tone. He's just like, well, I, you know, strangled her like this with both my hands and then put my arm around and just kind of tightened up, and I just held on there, you know. He spoke about his victims as if they were chores he had to complete or entities that had inconvenienced him. It was during these interrogations that he confessed to the 2006 murder of Dana in Marion County, but he wasn't finished. He gave detectives information that led them to yet another body. He admitted to killing a woman named Rebecca. This was in 2015. Rebecca's body had been found in a ravine in Ashland County, but at that time, her death had been ruled an accidental drug overdose due to the state of her body and her history with addiction. Grate shattered that conclusion. He detailed how he had met Rebecca, lured her away, and strangled her to death after she allegedly stole $40 from him. He also led police to the property in Mansfield, Richland County, where he had killed a woman named Candace in June of 2016, burning her body and burying it behind a house he had previously lived in. 5 women, 5 lies completely extinguished by one man's sociopathic whims. So in 2018, the trial, Ohio versus Shawn Grate, began in May of 2018 at the Ashland County Common Pleas Court. The courtroom was packed with families of the victims, journalists, and community deeply scarred by the revelation that such evil had lived quietly among them. The prosecution's case was anchored by forensic evidence, DNA recovered from the victims' bodies, Grate's own recorded confessions, and the devastating testimony of Chloe. When Chloe took the stand, the courtroom fell entirely silent. She looked directly at the man who had terrorized her, recounting every excruciating detail of her captivity. Her testimony stripped Grate of any lingering defense. The defense tried to argue a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. They painted Grate as a man suffering from severe mental illness, delusions, and a fractured psyche brought on by a chaotic life. Of course, we see that with a lot of these killers that we've talked about in the past. A lot of them try to always get that verdict, you know. Oh, not guilty by reason of insanity, blah, blah, blah. It has to do with their upbringing and, you know, their childhood and this and that. And it's like, no. This guy knew what he was doing every single time. All 5 victims, he knew what he was doing. You can't pull that card, you know. Jury realized that, and they knew it. So, Grate knew exactly what he was doing. He knew it was wrong. He simply did not care. He enjoyed the power. On May 14th, 2018, the jury deliberated for a mere 3 hours. The verdict, guilty on all counts, including aggravated murder, kidnapping, and the gross abuse of a corpse. So I've got some things here that I will read from the court docs here. And these are he had 10 counts here. So count 1, aggravated murder. So, in that on or about the period between August 16th, 2016 and September 13th, 2016 in Ashland County, Ohio, Shawn M. Grate purportedly, with prior calculation and design, caused the death of another to Elizabeth in violation of Ohio Revised Code section, 2903. So, count 2, aggravated murder again. This was for Elizabeth, the kidnapping and murder of her. We have count 3, kidnapping, felony in the first degree. That was for Elizabeth as well. Count 4, gross abuse of a corpse. In that on or about the period between August 16th, 2016 and September 13th, 2016 in Ashland County, Shawn M. Grate, except as authorized by law, treated a human corpse. Elizabeth, in the way that would outrage reasonable community sensibilities in violation of Ohio Revised Code section 2927, gross abuse of a corpse. It's a felony in the 5th degree. Burglary was count 5. Count 6 was tampering with evidence. Count 7, aggravated murder. Again, that was for Stacy. Count 8, aggravated murder for Stacy. Kidnapping for count 9. That was for Stacy as well. And kidnapping again for his final count 10, which was including all of them there. So, I'm sorry, he had more counts. I was wrong, I thought it was 10. So count 11 was rape, first degree felony. Count 12, aggravated robbery. Count 13, another gross abuse of a corpse. That was for Stacy. Count 14, unauthorized use of a vehicle. This one is in that on or about the period between September 8th, 2016 and September 13th, 2016 in Ashland County. Shawn M. Grate knowingly used or operated a motor vehicle. It was a 2003 Mitsubishi Eclipse with Ohio license number. It's blocked out. Excuse me. Without the consent to the owner, which was Stacy. Kept possession of the unauthorized use of a vehicle. He kept possession for more than 48 hours. So that's a felony in the 5th degree. Count 15, kidnapping again. That was for the Jane Doe. Count 16, rape. That was for the Jane Doe. Count 17, rape. That was Jane Doe. Count 18, rape. That was another Jane Doe. Count 19, robbery. Burglary, again, for count 20. Count 21. God, could you imagine being the jury and you got to hear the judge going through all these counts? I mean, this is insane. Count 21, burglary again. Burglary for count 22. Count 23, breaking and entering. And that's all the counts right there. So 23 counts, and he was found guilty on all of them and was sentenced to life in prison. So I have a little bit of the some different readings here for the from the court reporter for the trial. Yes, unsafe. That is absolutely nuts. That is correct. I mean, that's a lot. I watch like a lot of different trials, murder trials, and I know you guys know that already. I've talked about it before, but I've never seen one where there's friggin' 23 counts. I mean, and you're talking, that was like everything, rape, robbery, abuse of a corpse. I mean, that's crazy. That house, literally, they called it the House of Horrors. That house literally was. That was the same name that they gave the another one that we covered in Cleveland. And Castro's house. That was the House of Horrors too, as well, if I remember correctly. But so some of these here are talking about Shawn Grate's testimony. So these are abbreviated, LS, for the girls' initials and stuff. He says, okay, on September 11th, after taking a walk, Grate told LS that he had a bag of clothes to give her. LS also wanted to show him specific Bible passages. They went to the house, Covert Street, where Grate was staying, and he showed her the clothes. LS sat on the bed and started showing him Bible passages. Grate then pulled the Bible out of her hands and said, "You are not going anywhere." LS tried to push Grate away, but he punched her in the head and face and started choking her. LS stopped struggling and went motionless. Grate let go of her neck and started removing her clothes. LS stated that she was sexually assaulted every way imaginable. Grate tied her up at least 3 times in weird positions, sometimes together, sometimes to the bed. He put pills in her mouth and told her that they were muscle relaxers. He forcibly committed... It's going to get a little rough here, so bear with me here. He forcibly committed anal, oral, and vaginal rape on her. Grate videotaped the rapes on his cell phone. On LS's second night of captivity, Grate slept next to her in the first floor bedroom and tying her hands and legs together. Around 6 a.m. on September 13th, LS woke up and Grate was asleep. She loosened her bindings, and that was when she called for help. So that was Chloe. And some of the items that they found when police searched his home: clothing had been attached to the mattress and a chair in the first floor bedroom, seemingly to serve as bindings. 3 devices that police suspected Grate had used for sexual purposes were found. The police also found SS's Ohio direction card, debit card, and keys in the bedroom. EG's naked and bound body was found under clothes and bedding in the second floor closet. A bed on the second floor bedroom had items of clothing attached to the bed frame that were suspected to have been used as bindings. And I saw some pictures when I was looking up some of the crime scene, footage, and it literally was. It was like the old school mattresses, if you guys remember, years ago, where we'd have to, rotate our mattresses, they would say like once a year, and they had those handles sewn on the side of them, and that's where he would bind the clothes up, is he would tie them to that handle and use those as like restraints. SS's partially nude body was found under a pile of trash in the basement. A binding was around her neck. Another suspected sexual device was also found in the basement. So between September 13th and October 17th, 2016, Grate provided multiple confessions to the police about murders, rapes, and kidnappings. So it's just wild. I mean, the amount, just the stuff that he did was just crazy. So the sentencing... June 1st, 2018, Judge Ronald, and I'm not even going to screw that guy's last name up, we'll just say F, handed down the ultimate sentence for the murders of Stacy, Elizabeth, and the kidnapping and assault of Chloe. Shawn Grate was sentenced to death by lethal injection. So I was wrong, it was sentenced to death, along with a consecutive life sentence without the possibility of parole. So he got both. Later in 2019, Grate pled guilty to the murders of Rebecca, Candace, receiving an additional life sentences. In 2020, he was sentenced to life without parole for the murder of Dana. During his sentencing hearings, Grate showed fleeting moments of bizarre theatrical, sometimes offering half-hearted apologies, other times blaming society or the victims themselves for pushing his buttons. Today, Shawn Grate sits on death row at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Ohio. I know where that's about. His execution dates have been delayed, caught in the legal gridlock that characterizes the modern capital punishment system in the United States. But while he sits in a concrete cell staring at the walls, the legacy of his survival lives on. The house at 363 Covert Court, the House of Horrors, was entirely demolished in 2019. Landscapers tore down the rotting wood, cleared the soil, and left behind an empty lot. A physical of the stage where he performed the worst nightmares. So Shawn Grate believed he was a master manipulator, a man who could forever operate in the shadows because he chose victims he thought society would forget. He targeted them, the broken and the lonely, but he failed to account for the resilience of the human spirit. He failed to realize that the women he sought to destroy possessed a strength that far outweighed his cowardness. Because of one woman's refusal to die, Shawn Grate's reign of terror was permanently ended. We remember Dana, we remember Rebecca, Candace, we remember Elizabeth, and we remember Stacy. Their names deserve to be spoken long after Shawn Grate's name is forgotten in the ash heap of history. So this story here is just insane. I mean, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot that went on. And Chloe got absolutely lucky. You know, she played it smart by just kind of feeding into him instead of, because like I was saying before, instead of overreacting, panicking, trying to fight back, she would have been dead. And God knows how long this would have continued on. Or it still could have been continuing on to this day. But the fact that she gave in and kind of went along with him, he felt secure and he felt, okay, you know, she kind of goes along with me and what I'm doing here. And, you know, I'm sure she was saying stuff like, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to try to fight you or fight back. And it kind of got him to put his guard down a little bit. And luckily for that, she had a chance when he fell asleep to call for help. And that saved her life. And ultimately, it brought hopefully a little bit of closure to the victims' families of the ones that did pass away too. Very sad story. It's crazy. And it's crazy to think that this was only like 45, 50 minutes from me here. Which is absolutely bizarre. I don't know why Ohio, for some reason, is well known for a lot of serial, killers. I wouldn't consider that well known or anything to be proud of. Maybe it's because there's not much here to do in this state, so some of these guys go fucking, cuckoo and off the rails. But it's just crazy, absolutely nuts. But I do want to thank you guys for listening in. I appreciate you guys sticking around, even though it was just me. It means a lot. We do appreciate everybody continuing to help the show grow every week. I can't stress and I can't thank you guys enough for liking, sharing the show. Numbers are still going great across all the platforms, and we appreciate that. Definitely. So we will let you know sometime throughout the week who we're going to be covering next week. And we should have Criminology Chris and Classroom Jackie back on the show next week for you guys. But other than that, we hope everybody enjoys the rest of their weekend and has a wonderful week next week. And I will jump off of here, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening in. David, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.